Plan to remain in Vinton County. I've come to know and meet many of you, and come to know and love many of you. Many of you I've known for more than a decade. And as I go door to door, meeting people, even people who are for my opponent, I go door to door and I talk to everybody. I've just come to grow, come to grow and to love the people. And as I go door to door, this is my home. And we are looking for a home, as I said earlier. We talked about some specifics before, but we do plan to be here and to be among you. And I'm here among you now, and I go door to door and talk to everybody, and that's what I want to do. Get to know you, know what your concerns are, and to be able to address those concerns.
Everyone in this room knows exactly what I'm going to do. I have lost an election before and I stayed. I continue to work for you. I continue to build our county and continue to do everything I can to make this place a better place to live. I have a business here. I have a child who goes to school here. And so you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay in Vinton County and continue to work with all of you to the best abilities that I can.
Actually, I think the question is, why did I run in Vinton County? About 3.5 years ago, Bob and Debbie Sifford came to me and asked me. They said, we have a problem in our prosecutor's office. We know that you have 14 years, well, at the time it wasn't 14 years of experience, over a decade of experience as a prosecutor, handling all phases of the prosecutor's office. Shane and April Peck also came to us and asked us to pray about it and think about it, and we did. And we have felt led to make this run, to come here, make this move, and to be the best prosecutor that this county has ever seen. That's why I'm running in Vinton County. Because right now I'm leasing a house that's too small for my family. And so they are still in Athens as we're looking for a home so that we can have a permanent home here. Find something with about 40 acres. My wife has certain specifications, and the whole family will be here. But right now, I am here, and we are looking for a permanent home so that we all can be here among you. And so that's why my children who are homeschooled are with my wife. The house is way too small for them, and the one that they're in suits their needs.
I intend to maintain a policy that addresses each case and its needs on a case-by-case basis. I intend to be firm. I intend to pursue convictions to the fullest extent of the law that I can. I intend to work with victims to ensure that they are achieving a result that they hope to achieve, and proceed from there. I think every case warrants a case-by-case analysis. I think to take a hardline policy and tell you I'm going to do this in every single case forgets the fact that these are real people, not case numbers, and that there are real victims involved who may have different wishes and different hopes for resolutions, as well as different defendants who have different needs, different situations, and oftentimes different mental health status, different substance abuse status, different family needs, and I intend to address all of that on a case-by-case basis.
So I've got the experience doing the drug traffickers, drug abusers, and what people know about me is that if people who are users have been hooked on drugs for some reason and they want to get off of them, I'm all for getting them the treatment that they need and that they deserve so that they can become productive members of society. But if you have drug traffickers who come down here, corrupt our citizens, come down driving their car down, getting the profits from the drugs, they really need to go to prison. And the money that they have and the cars that they drive down here, they need to be forfeited to the county so that we can use their money against them to continue to fight the drug trafficking problem and the drug problem that we have in the county. As far as victims for drug abuse cases, I mean, it's typically the victimless crime. The victims are our society, because our society loses when somebody's hooked on drugs and when we have people trafficking drugs in our county. I want to get those traffickers to make it so expensive for them, they decide to do business elsewhere.
My daughter Sydney, who most of you know, does attend Vinton County Schools. She goes to Central Elementary. She's in 5th grade. And what was the second part of the question?
It says, do your children attend Vinton County Schools? If yes, what do you think of the system? If no, why not?
In most regards, I'm appreciative of the system. They too are functioning under little resources. We have nice facilities. I guess my disappointment and frustration in the system is not necessarily directed solely at the schools, but also directed at the justice system, the criminal justice system. I'm concerned about my daughter telling me about the bullying. I'm concerned about my daughter telling me about drug activity in our schools. And I think as a prosecutor, one of my roles would be to reach out to the schools to try to see what we can do to make things better for kids, because I don't think third graders should be bullying each other. I think it's something we need to address, something we need to nip in the buds. But I do appreciate how much above and beyond the Call of Duty our teachers give to our kids and how much interest they take in my kid. She's not just a statistic to them, she's a student, and they care about her very much. And that's one of the reasons I choose to live here in Vinton County, where there's people looking out for my kid in that fashion.
Well, her child does go to Vinton County Schools, but I guess I'm going to address the question a little bit more generally. I do talk to teachers in the schools. I know what a lot of the concerns are. We heard about bullying. We heard about drugs in the schools. We need to get law enforcement in the schools, prosecutors, sheriffs, so that we can talk to the children, let them know what the consequences of their acts are. Be proactive with all of the students, to let them know that if you get hooked on drugs, these are the consequences. We need also to support our schools, because many people have to send their children to the schools, and many people love the schools. I've gone to the different events, gone to the football game, gone to different fundraising events, and supported the schools, because the public schools, I'm a public school graduate, the public schools are foundational for communities, and we need to support them and try to lift them up and move them forward. Thank you.
I will answer the question and set the record straight, but I will not yield to time. So you can drag me out of the building if you feel the need, but I will answer the question. In 1998, I came here as a young lawyer with $100,000 worth of federal loan debt. I took a job at a small firm making what they offered me, which at the time I felt was a fair salary. I was not satisfied in that position and ultimately chose to open my own office. What I didn't tell everyone the day I quit there is that I was also a couple months pregnant. I decided that it was best for me and my family if I left that position, despite the fact that I did not know where my next dollar would come from. I opened my office, and over the years, about 4 or 5 years, I started to make money. I started to make a decent living. I worked hard. I worked extra hours. I took my kid to that office every day, and at night when my husband came home from work, I sent my kid home with him and I went back to that office. I worked hard all those years, and after 4 or 5 years, I started to make money. I made a decent living. And at about that time, what I was doing is, when you're self-employed, you make quarterly tax payments. I was making quarterly tax payments, but my income started to grow. And my quarterly tax payments was not meeting my federal tax burden. And for the first couple of years, when I filed my income tax return, I wrote a check to the federal government for that difference. A few years goes by, I start making more money. And the final year resulting in that last tax lien is the effect that I made a lot of money that year. I settled a large personal injury case that year, and I made a decision to pay off my credit card debt that I incurred those years that I was running up credit card debt to take care of my family and to run my office. I paid down that debt, and then I did not have enough money to pay my federal taxes for that year because I did not save enough back. And what I did not realize is that personal injury settlement that I received would put me into a different tax bracket. The self-employment taxes that year were in the tens of thousands. I paid what I could.
Teresa, I'm going to ask you to please be seated now.
I'm going to finish the question. It's a personal attack on me, and I'm going to finish. I did not have enough money to write the check that year. As a result, my accountant didn't advise me that when you receive $25,000 in tax liability that you can't write the check for, a lien is automatically filed. I worked with the IRS to develop an installment payment plan. I am paying that tax burden, I am paying penalties, I am paying interest, and I make monthly payments. And as long as I comply with that installment agreement, the IRS intends to take no other action against me. The payments are timely and currently being made.
I have no comment about somebody's tax burden. I believe in running a campaign about the issues. And the issues that we have here are, do you want to elect a prosecutor who has 14 years experience or one who has less than a year's experience as a prosecutor? I train prosecutors with about 5 years or less experience in how to do the job. One of the things that as a prosecutor you do have to do, however, is to collect taxes. And in this instance, it's a real estate tax that the prosecutor has to collect, not a federal tax lien. So no, I have no comment about anybody else's financial difficulties. Thank you. I have no doubt that I can work with the judges. I've worked with judges in various counties. I've spoken to all of the judges in Vinton County. And I deal with the judges in Athens County. I've dealt with them in Fairfield, Meigs, and various other counties. I work well with others. And the prosecutor does make sentencing recommendations. It's up to the judge to decide what the final sentence is. Oftentimes the judge does rely on what the prosecutor says. And with 14 years experience, I've made hundreds of recommendations to judges about various different cases. Because there are some cases where the individual shouldn't go to prison. I make those recommendations. There are some cases where I think that the individual should go to prison for the rest of their lives. And I've tried those cases, had those sentencing hearings. I've had the judge, when I was looking at him, thinking to myself, I'll probably only give him 22 to life. Once the defendant opened his mouth, it was 28 to life. I said, thank you for speaking and not taking credit, for taking responsibility really for your actions, because that's what pushed the judge over. So do I think I can work with judges? I don't have any trouble with it. I've worked with numerous judges and done it successfully. Thank you.
I don't think I'll have any difficulty working with the judges. I've worked with them for years. In particular, I'll point to child support cases that I was prosecuting. Before I took over the child support contract, all I heard from people was, nobody goes to jail for not paying their child support. The judges aren't going to send anybody to jail for not paying their child support. And several times in Judge Grillo's courtroom, when Judge Grillo was presented with the facts of the case and the situation of the defendant, he did in fact send people to jail for not paying their child support. And so I have the experience of doing just what you're asking can be done, and I believe it can be done.
This is for Mr. Driscoll. Will you continue the trend of plea bargaining as with the Athens County defense attorneys that is currently going on?
I'm not sure what the trend of plea bargaining is or what it really pertains to. But what I do when I get a case in, I look at the case. And I write on the jacket before I know the name, race, anything else. I look at the facts, see what the facts are, and I write down on the case. Here's what I think an appropriate resolution of this matter is. If the defendant wants that, that's fine. If he doesn't, well, we take it to trial. I've got a trial scheduled for next Tuesday. A gentleman by the name of Richard Puckett. Some of you may know him. He got a certain offer in the matter. He decided not to take it. We're going to trial. That's what I do. Trial's the most fun part of the job. I get to get up and I get to pace, and people don't really mind because I have a jury box and I've got to talk to everybody. But as far as plea bargaining, no, there's not really plea bargaining. It's determining what's appropriate for the case and, frankly, for the county. If you have somebody who has multiple cases, they get hit a little harder than somebody if it's their first time out, where we might look at diversion, intervention, things such as that. And as far as child support cases, once they get beyond the child support agency, the county prosecutor takes those over. I've actually had to send some of those people to prison, so we make those determinations also.
As I spoke a lot about plea bargaining last week, irregardless of attorneys, I think that plea bargaining in most people's minds has a negative connotation. But again, it's about assessing the strengths and weakness of a case, what you're confronted with in terms of victims, testimony, evidence, also in terms of what the wishes of the players are, treatment options, and taking all of those things into consideration and making a recommendation about how to resolve the case for everyone's benefit, particularly society's benefit. So I say yes, the plea bargaining will continue, whether it's amongst any particular attorneys or not, no. I mean, it shouldn't be a discriminatory system. It's, you know, people have the attorneys they have, and I intend to work to the best of my abilities that I can. I'm not here to protect any certain defense attorney. That's not part of my job or should not be a part of the equation at all. But however, I think the prosecutor does have to keep that idea of fairness in mind.